Well, in the end, what I'm most concerned about is the quality of service that we offer to students. And I don't look at it so much as the dollars or percentage increases or percentage cuts. I look at what is the impact of those cuts. And what I mean by that is, if it means that you can't hire additional faculty to meet an enrollment that you've already committed to, then what happens is you end up with larger classes, you end up with course sections not being available, you end up ultimately with people not being able to graduate on time or taking longer to graduate. And those are all issues that we want to try to avoid. And so that's why we always say that we'll put a premium on the instructional components of the university first and cut that the least, because that's what affects your ability to finish on time, to complete your degree, and to have a quality product.
In light of what's happened this week, to further make this financial crisis worse, is it looking more likely that it might be the 10% reduction plan or the 15% over the 5%? Or is there no real correlation there?
Well, I would agree with your statement. I would agree that it looks more like we'd probably have a higher number than a lower number. But that's based on a feeling and not based on facts, because for this year's budget, it's going to be driven by whatever the revenues are to the state, projected revenues to the state for this fiscal year. And we're already into this fiscal year, and we've already had some tax collections. So we'll just have to wait and see how they modify the projections for this year. But there's no reason to believe that it's going to get better rather than worse, because there are no signs in the economy that look very positive right now.
Being that James Madison still is relatively young compared to some of the other schools, how much of an advantage does, say, UVA or Tech or William and Mary have, since they've been around so much longer and have that base of
well, they've got more private support. They've got more private dollars that they could rely on. And that was one of the reasons when we decided on a capital campaign 6 or 7 years ago. One of the goals of the institution was to try to get ourselves in a position where we are not totally dependent on just tuition and general funds from the state as revenue sources. Because in tough times, your flexibility is restricted. If you have more money coming in from grants and contracts, and if you have more private support from gifts, then that helps you weather some of those storms. I can't speak too well to reputation. What I can speak to is alcohol and substance abuse and data that are available that tell us about that inappropriate usage and the amount of binge drinking, for example, that goes on, that sort of thing. And the statistics that are provided by our own students suggest that there is more of a problem here with that than at a number of other institutions. And that's why we have said we wanted to make this a priority in the planning efforts at the university. What I'm concerned about is the health and well-being of students. I'm concerned about your ability to maximize whatever the educational experience is in your classrooms. And if you're negatively affected because of a party the night before and you're not learning what you could be learning, then I think you've paid for a product and you're not going to be able to take full advantage of it. So I'm concerned about the learning environment, and I'm concerned about people's health and well-being.
One thing I'd like to touch on too is as the presidential election heats up a little bit, what can you say to students, I guess, about the importance of voting? And do you remember the first time you voted and what election it was?
I don't remember what election it was. I don't think I voted the first time that I could. I think every time since then, I believe I have. Unfortunately, that's a function of my age. I can't remember when I did and when I didn't, but I think I have, other than that first time, maybe the first time or two. But I feel strongly that we're trying to develop people who are going to be engaged citizens here. That's, if you look at our mission statement, if you look at what we talk about all the time, it has to do with being part of a community. And to have the ability to vote and determine who your leaders are, I think is one of the primary responsibilities we have as engaged citizens. So, yeah, I would encourage all students to, hopefully they have registered, and if they've registered, to actually turn that into a vote, not just to sit back and not take full advantage of the rights that we've been given as Americans.